Good morning, friends. I brought my animal family, Ella, to read with you today. My grandmother was the first to lift her trunk and trumpet. My older brother stared into the distance. We all watched the horizon. Finally, we saw my father's herd coming towards us. Grandmother led us to greet them. Elephants always love to visit with family and friends. My mother was so glad to see my father and my two oldest brothers. They're big now. They're almost grown-up age. My father is so big. Every time I see him, he lets me follow him while he digs up grass with his tusks. Elephants have to eat a lot. Once the grass is gone, wherever we are, we have to travel to find more. So before long, my father's herd had to leave again. We all trumpeted goodbye, and then my grandmother started walking, and we all followed her. We were hungry too. A few days later, one of my aunts was swaying, lifting her trunk high, and then lowering again. That meant she was going to have a baby soon. My cousins and I stayed close to her, but not too close. We didn't want to bother her. We were just excited. The next night, the baby was born. When the sun came up, we all stamped and trumpeted and welcomed the newborn into the herd. The baby looked so little to me. I was much bigger than she was. A few days later, my aunt let me touch the baby. She was very shy with her little trunk swung back and forth. I was careful not to startle her. As the days passed, my aunt didn't mind at all if her baby followed me around. It was fun. I was very careful. I made sure she didn't get into any trouble. Watching the baby try to use her trunk, I realized how much I had learned. She couldn't pull up her own grass yet, so I let her have some of mine. I tried to help her practice every single day like my brother had helped me. One night we heard hyenas barking in the darkness. I wasn't afraid. They are dangerous for baby elephants, but so long as the whole herd is close, they are afraid of us. My mother lay awake, but I went back to sleep. The next day, my grandmother had led us eastward toward the river. My aunt seemed tired. Maybe the hyenas kept her awake. She dropped back to the end of the line. I walked with her and her baby. Halfway to the river, we all stopped because a storm was rising. It rained hard that night. It scared the baby a little. It was her first rainstorm. She stood very close to me. The day after the rain was sunny and hot. So when we got to the river, my mother and most of the herd waded into the water. My aunt found a place to doze in the shade while her baby followed me into the shallows. After we got out of the water, the baby and I played hide and seek in the tall grass, and then I tried to teach her how to pull it up by the roots. I was hungry. For a long time, she stayed close and watched me eat, so I didn't notice when she walked back toward the river. When I looked up, I couldn't see her. I scented hyenas and ran into the trees. I found her trembling in a little clearing in the trees. I was scared too. The hyenas were so close. Stamping my feet, I made a low rumbling sound that I knew my mother would hear, and she did. I heard her loud, strong trumpet, and then my grandmother's. I hoped they would come fast. The biggest hyena growled. I was so scared, but I knew what I had to do. I charged the hyenas, and then I heard my mother and the rest of the herd right behind me. The ground shook as my family thundered into the clearing. The hyenas all ran. I was so glad that the baby was safe. Everyone was. My mother was so proud of me. I saw my grandmother calming everyone as we walked across the wide grassland. I watched her. Maybe someday I would be the one leading the herd. We all slept close together that night in a meadow far from the river. The moon was bright, and I knew my mother and grandmother would keep watch for the danger. So I closed my eyes and I went to sleep, breathing the familiar sense of grass and warm earth, listening to the sleepy sounds of my big family. That was the end. Ooh, I liked hearing about Ella's story. A little different. Well, enjoy your day, friends. I'll see you soon.